Okay, guys, this one is gonna be in English, unfortunately, because I did not manage to learn Hebrew in 4 hours today. So, how many of you know Make or Integromat? Good, not that many people, so it's gonna be useful for you, for most of you today. So I'm Daniel, I'm Solutions Architect at Make, and today I will be talking about automating Jira with Make and how you can possibly benefit from this combination of apps, of course, plugged via Make. So, first I will do a slightly more generic intro to Make, what it is, what it does, and then we will look at a demo, and if we have time at the end, I will answer a few questions. If we don't have time, or you are afraid to ask publicly, you can catch us around and ask us in private, all right? So let's go, we don't have much time. So what is Make? Well, Make is a visual automation platform which allows you to visually design, build, and automate anything, which sounds kind of fancy, yes, from small tasks to complex workflows without need for coding, okay? So I am not a developer. I studied business school, and still I'm like walking here on stage, trying to look smart, trying to look as a developer, but I'm not one, which is kind of the testament that it's really for everyone, okay? So if you have any like prejudices or biases that, no, it's too hard, I can't do it, no, you can do it, right? It's not that difficult. And basically what you do in Make is that you take your existing business process and you convert it to a visual representation of it, and you build it automation around that process in Make. And the beautiful thing is that you do this in minutes, not weeks, not months. Yes, sometimes it's hours, sometimes it's days, but it's not weeks, it's not months, not quarters, and not years, okay? And we are talking about connecting thousands of apps. Right now, it's 1,500, and this number is growing every day. And as we support a lot of apps, the use cases are basically unlimited, as we will see in a bit. And we can cater for very small organizations with 2 or 3 people, all the way to organizations which have hundreds of people with enterprise-grade security features, etc. And I know this slide is heavy, so let me just reiterate what is important here. It's for everyone, okay? Small tasks to complex workflows. And again, the time is of the essence. It's very quick to build something on Make. So how does Make fit into your organization? So I would say that every organization uses at least like 20 different apps, right? Be it, for example, Salesforce, Excel, Oracle, NetSuite, Atlassian, Monday, and Greenhouse. And you need sometimes, well, maybe most of the time, you need those apps to talk to each other. And Make in the middle can be the glue between those apps. So in Make, you build workflows or scenarios. We call them scenarios, these automations, which basically allow those apps to talk to each other. And when I talk about apps, let's kind of take a step back and think about it for a while. So on the left side, we kind of have the very well-known apps, which are used by pretty much everyone, right? So we are talking about like ClickUp, Monday, HubSpot, you know, entire Google suite, Microsoft products, Slack, Airtable, like all these apps where there is no barrier to entry and they are relatively cheap to use. But then on the other side, we also support the big name apps from the enterprise world. So even apps such as like Greenhouse, NetSuite, ServiceNow, Workday, even those can be used on Make. So again, this is to demonstrate that yes, you know, we can work with small companies, but we can also work with the big guys. Speaking of Atlassian ecosystems, what do we currently support? And keep in mind that the list of apps is always growing, all right? So maybe a month from now, it will be more than 5 apps. So as of today, we support Trello, Jira, Bitbucket, OpsGenie, and Status Page. And you can always check by going to make.com, product, apps and services, and then app family Atlassian, and then we'll show you what we support. So this is as of today, but keep in mind, you know, the apps, they never sleep and they keep popping and popping. Now, a little bit of geek time for the IT guys in the room. How does Make actually work? What's the hierarchy of the platform? So this is Make as a platform, and we have those apps, right? So Monday, ClickUp, those would be here. then each app basically allows you to connect to different endpoints. So the apps are APIs, and then the endpoints, we call them modules internally. And one app can have 5 modules, another can have 50. It just depends on the API. And those modules are usually doing one of these actions, right? It's either some sort of like get, search, list, create, update, delete. We also have special type of modules which allow you to make authorized API calls. And then, of course, we have some triggers, because you need to trigger the automations somehow, right? And it can be either polling, so run something every 2 hours, check whether something is new every day, every week. Or you can do it through webhooks. So webhooks will allow you to receive real-time notification and act from that in Make. So in case of Jira, for example, this is how it would look. So Jira would be one of the apps, and these would be the modules in Jira app, which are technically the endpoints. So here on my screen, I have like 12 modules, but in reality, there's like 40. It just doesn't fit on the screen. And we have the usual suspects like create an issue, update an issue, delete an issue, etc. All right, so this is the hierarchy on Make. Now, if you don't know Make and you think, oh, it's kind of like small company and I don't know these guys, well, let me prove you wrong. We have a lot of companies around the world which are already using Make and which have account with us. And yes, some of these companies, they use it more, some of them use it less. But generally speaking, if I go to admin and check out who is using us, it's pretty much every big brand name around the world. So, you know, Meta guys, Uber, About You, Zalando, whatever. Whatever company you name, they likely at least tried Make already. So enough talking, and let's talk about our problem. Let's go for the demo. So we have a problem, as you always do in your daily life. We, as a company, as Threads and Tails, we have a sales team, and the sales team is collecting product-related tickets, basically feature requests, from customers for our internal dev teams. And the tickets are created in Salesforce, because sales guys, you know, they like to work in Salesforce. They don't want to leave Salesforce. But your dev guys, they work in Jira. They don't want to leave Jira. So the question is how you make tickets from Salesforce flow to Jira automatically. And basically, in Salesforce, we have a custom object created for the sales guys, where they can, you know, submit a ticket name, which is a feature request. Then there is a description, and then related customer account, assigned team, and Jira status, which will be backfilled later, and Jira link, which will be backfilled later. And the ticket is this. So big retail companies that donate clothes wish to see the total number of animals that their donations helped during rescuing, so they can republish this to the customers. And ideally, the numbers are visible immediately after logging into our platform in the top left corner. Additionally, the numbers should be retrievable via our ad hoc reports. I totally made this up. But it's a ticket, and it needs to go from Jira, you know, from this custom object in Salesforce. So how do we get there? Jira is empty currently. And what we want to have at the end is, you know, the Salesforce ticket here, and the Jira ticket on the right side when the automation runs. And as a bonus, you also want to link those things, right? So in Salesforce, you want to have link to Jira so you can quickly click through. And in Jira, you want to have Salesforce-related information. So again, you can click between the two systems. So let's see how this can be solved on Make. Now, I've pre-recorded this video for 2 big reasons. First one is that it helps me to stay focused and don't go off the rails. The second is that we don't always own the test instances, and some data needs to be anonymized. And third small reason is that demos sometimes fail when you do them on stage. And usually you are not to blame, but it just doesn't look good. You know, the API doesn't respond. There's like 502 or whatever. It's not Make's fault, but sometimes, you know, these things happen. So we took our learnings from past experiences. So let's go. I will be stopping the video as it runs and explaining the individual steps. So at the beginning, here is our ticket in Salesforce. And it needs to go to Jira, right? So Jira is currently empty. And to push that thing from Salesforce to Jira, we have this scenario. So this is scenario canvas in Make. And basically, those bubbles, those are the modules. Those are the individual actions which the scenario will be doing. And when the scenario runs, information will simply start flowing from one module to another until the scenario is completed. So let the scenario run. We are also running it through ChatGPT, because that ticket description was kind of long, and people don't like to read long things at the beginning. They need to get some idea. So we will use ChatGPT to extract summary of that ticket and embed it into the Jira ticket, which is created later. Then Jira ticket is created. We feed back the information to Salesforce, and we send ourselves notification via email and to Slack. Okay, so it ran. It looks kind of like a game, and it's kind of addictive when you start working with it. Green means good, red means bad. And don't start playing with this on Monday, because then you will go a whole week with it. It's really like, it's addictive. So stay aware of that. So now, the ticket appeared in Jira after the scenario ran. So let's enter it and see what happened there. So in Jira, we have the summary by ChatGPT here. Then we have the original request from Salesforce. And then on the right side, we have the data or the metadata from Salesforce, right? The customer, for example, here is the domain extracted from the related account in Salesforce from the general email. So you can even do like little data manipulations inside Make through some formulas. It doesn't have to always be like static information from one point to point B, which cannot be edited. You can still like manipulate it. And then we have the creator. And let's finish the process. So let's go back to Salesforce and see whether the data got backfilled. So I refreshed it, and of course we have the Jira status here and the Jira link. So it all worked. And let's also check out our email, whether we got a notification, and yes, it's there. So we have the link to the Salesforce ticket and link to the Jira ticket. And then we have also notification on Slack here. Yes, the message is here kind of like 4 times because I had to practice this. It doesn't come for granted. But the true message which was triggered by that scenario was this one. So it came from make slave, and it's the same message as we got in the email. So apparently everything works fine. And let's check out the platform itself just like for a minute or two so you get a feel how you actually work with it. And that it's pretty easy. So these modules are basically added by dragging and dropping. So let me just like set random variables here. And this is how you basically add more and more modules. So let's say I want to send a message on Slack. So I will use this module here. Maybe I need to add some additional logic. And maybe then I need to do another additional logic there. So I can connect it like this. And then you just go and go and go and create this scenario. And within those modules, you also have to, of course, configure them to know what information is flowing from where to where. So here, for example, this is the Slack message, and you can see that a lot of it is just static, but the issue key into that Jira link needs to be dynamic. And basically what you do is you drag and drop the information coming from preceding modules into the current module, and that's how the data flows from one module to another. And again, it's mainly done by dragging and dropping, but as I said, you can even use some formulas to manipulate these variables. So we have math formulas, string formulas, date time, arrays, which are my favorite, and they are very powerful. Okay, so this is it. This is how we work with Make. You can move stuff around. If you don't like it, you can quickly revert back to default state. And again, it's very visual. It's for everyone, not just for geeky guys. All right, so let's go back to the presentation. And is this it? Is this like Jira, Salesforce, and that's all of Make? Of course not. As I said, it's 1,500 different apps. And it doesn't have to be that simple, because stuff can get very more complicated in real life. So I just pulled a few random scenarios which I saw to demonstrate the complexity which Make can handle. So this is still one scenario, and yes, it's a bit advanced, and there is like routes, subroutes, and subroutes of subroutes, and Make can still handle this. Or maybe you don't want to have this fancy logic, and you just want to have a very long scenario with many steps. Sure, no problem. Or maybe you kind of want to combine everything together. So this scenario is like 50% of it, because here I had to cut it. It just didn't fit to my screen. And it will still run. And here you can even see our advanced modules like iterations and aggregations. So we even have like these pro-code features in our like no-low-code platform to get real stuff done. So what are the takeaways? Well, let me go back to one of the first slides. And let me again repeat these things. So for everyone, but if you don't feel like it's for you, or you don't have time, you don't want to learn it. You can maybe ask our friends from Metrics for help, who are certified. Again, small tasks to complex workflows. You can do both things in Make. And the development time is not weeks, not months, not quarters, not years. It can be minutes for very simple scenarios with 2 modules, maybe hours, maybe days for a very complex one. The scenario which I was demoing on the video, it took me like 20 minutes to build. I spent way more time on getting my test instances ready than actually building the automation between themselves. All right, so it's always like it. You spend like 4 hours on getting everything ready so you can build that scenario in 20 minutes. And that's it.